These um these things are going to get increasingly a little bit more difficult, but the beginning part is fairly simple if you just kind of follow through what they're asking you to do. So I'm gonna go to, like, when you create your path at the end, when you're done, you press return or enter, and that stops the pen tool from trying to create another path, right? And so I'm going to pull up my artboard, right? I'm gonna pull up my artboard's panel, and I'm gonna use this right up here. I'm gonna connect it here because I want to move from artboard to artboard, but I don't necessarily want to zoom out then zoom back in. So with my artboard here, I can go to the next artboard by double clicking it. Oops. Double click on that next artboard, and it takes me directly to that artboard. Um, Within this new artboard, I'm going to create a new page or new layer, and then name that layer whatever this says. So this says curves, so I'm going to type in curves. So that, one, it gets us in the habit of naming our layers. Two, it allows us to make sure that we're on the new layer to create, right? And so now if I zoom in here, I can start to create here. So this one says these are constrained curves, right? So if I hold shift here and make my handle, the next time I come over to 3, I'm going to hold shift and drag down to 4, 5 to 6, 7 to 8, 9 to 10, and then keep going. Use my space bar to move over, hold shift, and then 13 to 14. All right. Now down here, it's a little bit different, right? But when I'm done with my line, make sure you press enter or return. But on this part, I need to make sure I'm not holding shift any longer. I'm just being able to click and drag this handle, and then go right here, click and drag in the opposite direction. So this practice is saying if I drag to the right, the next time I click and drag, my line is going to go to the right. And then when I drag back down to the left, I'm creating that curvature. So I click up to 6, come to 7, drag down, and this is where this gets interesting, because we have a shortcut key that allows us to modify the handle, right? The shortcut key is the option key. And so as we're using our pen tool, if I hold the option key, I'm allowed to, I hold option, actually it's going to be command. Option is going to be my convert anchor point tool. But if I hold command, it's control on the PC, but command key on the Mac, I can click on that point and I can drag the handle over here to 9 to readjust. So basically what it's doing here is it's introducing you, if you mess up along the way, you can hold the command key and you can adjust points. All right, so you can just kind of adjust the points. Now, one thing that you want to make sure that you do as you're creating these things, you can't tell right now, but I can tell because when I move this, my line disappears. That means that I still have a fill on my line. So I need to go to properties, make sure that the fill is set to none. Okay. And again, when you're done with the line, you press enter or return. I can complete curves, that's fine. So now the next artboard is the ellipse. This is ellipse and triangles. So this one's pretty easy because you're just clicking and dragging over here, then you're clicking and dragging over there, holding shift. Triangle is simple clicks, simple clicks. The reverse curves. The reverse curves are a little bit difficult, but this is using the option key, and I'll show you what we're talking about here. So come here. So as I'm holding shift, 1 to 2. This part is easy. Hold shift, 3 to 4. Now this is where it gets interesting. in order for me, if I go from 6 to 7, I'm not able to get that curve. So what I have to do is, before I create this 6 to 7, I need to hold my Option key, which is the Convert Anchor Point tool, and I can take this handle and bring it down like that to 5. And now, when I hold Shift, click and drag, hold Option, bring it down. And then when I go here, I'm holding Shift up, Option down, Shift up, Option down, Shift up. Oops. Oh, this is a good teaching moment. So sometimes you may click off and you don't have the line selected anymore. So now you go and the line is broken, right? So if this ever happens, you put your mouse over right where the point you left off, and you can drag the point to where you need it to be in the direction that you're going to make your curve. In this particular case, it's going to be down. So it's going to go this way. And then I can hold Shift, and you can continue. All you needed to do was click on that last point like that. So that is reverse curves, and this is without holding Shift. Remember, you have to press Enter. So 1 to 2, 3 to 4, hold Option, drag the handle of 4, come on, to 5, let go. Okay, the handle got broken. I press Delete. I just click and create my handle at that last point. There. Hold Option to grab that handle. Drag down here. Click and drag without holding anything. Hold Option. Now, the reason why this is happening, or the reason why you're learning how to do this, is because you're going to have to create custom, it's almost like drawing, right? So like if you did a drawing that has custom shapes, custom lines, custom outlines, you need to learn how to control that pen tool so that you can create those custom lines and custom shapes. A lot of times our basic shapes don't allow us to do all the intricate details that we need. And so this is going to allow us to do that. Now this gets a little crazy because I came around and it looks really confusing, but all you have to do is follow the numbers. Hold Option, this is a handle, drag that handle down to 14, and then continue from 15 to 16. Okay? And if you want to check your work, you can always press Enter and go up to the layer, and the template, let's see which one this is, probably this one. You can hide the template to see what your work looks like. Okay, so you guys are going to go through and try all of these different things here. The other files, like when I look at my Blackboard, so Pen Tool Practice 1, that's all what I just showed you. Pen Tool Practice 2, that's going to be the corner points, corner points and curves, and the new shapes. And then Pen Tool 3 is the file with the ice cream, the hammer, and that type of thing. So one document, one PDF document for this, one PDF document for this, which means that's going to be 3 artboards, and then one document for this, which is going to be 1 artboard. So 5, I think it's 6 artboards here, 3 artboards there, and then 1 artboard here. All PDFs. Do not turn in the Illustrator file. If you turn in the Illustrator file, I'm going to basically delete it and give you 0. So, how do you save it? How do you turn it in? When you save out, I want you to delete the template files, right? So the reason why is because let's say even if I hide these, usually what happens is when I hide them, they usually show up in the PDF anyway, but let me try. Save as, desktop, PDF, test, all artboards, that's good. Save. My save PDF file shows up. View after saving, that's good. And save. So now it should pop up. Okay, that's good. You don't need to, oh, perfect. So if you just hide the template files, then they won't show up. And that's what I'm looking for. Because I want to see, without the dotted lines, I want to see the quality and the smoothness of your lines. All right. I'll be able to tell whether you got it or not. Any questions so far? Okay. So let's just take a look at the other documents. Okay, so very straightforward, this one, very straightforward. When you're done with your ends of your lines, you press enter so you can go to the next thing. Same thing here, same thing there. And then this is where the ultimate test begins for you guys. On this particular one, I said one artboard, but I want you to do one artboard per image here. All right, and so you'll have an artboard for the ice cream, artboard for the balloon, the pear, the paintbrush, this. So you have individual artboards, so you can, basically. Oh, let me pull this up and show you what's the best way to do that, because there's an easy way to set this up. So if you want to set this up now, you can. So I'll show you how to do this. There's an easy way to set it up where you don't have to struggle on finding out how to do this. So I go to File, New, and let me see how many shapes were there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there were 7 shapes. Okay, so 7 artboards. Yeah, I'll keep it at 8.5 by 11. That's fine. I'll push create, and my first input, I'm going to go to File, Place. Well, let me cancel because I want to bring Command 0 to put this in place. So File, Place, and I'm going to use this one. Now for this initial, because I'm going to separate each one of those files into a separate artboard, I'm not going to use template yet. I'm going to show you how you can do template after the fact. So this one I'm not going to do template. I'm just going to push place, and it gives you the option on making the size of it. So I'm just going to click and drag. All right, and now I have this document at a certain size, but what I can do in the properties right here, you can locate crop image, right? So you can locate crop image, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom out, and I will make this bigger. Okay, so I'm going to hold my Alt key or Option and Shift, and I'm just going to drag this to the next artboard, and then Command D allows me to do that. So Command D allowed me to duplicate. I'll select all 3, hold Option, drag down, and then I'll hold Option and drag down to this one. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm going to use the crop tool, and I'm going to crop out each one for each artboard. So for this one, press Command 0. I'm going to start off with the ice cream. Select crop image. And then from crop image, I'm only going to focus here on the ice cream. And apply. So now I crop that image and I can use this image for the ice cream. And then I do the same thing over here. This one will be maybe the hammer. Crop image. Bring this down. And I'm only going to focus on that. And so then I can make that bigger. Okay. And so this way you can go ahead and really focus on each individual item without having to worry about everything else on the page. That makes sense? Now, once you do that for each one, let's say I go back to my layers. I'm going to create a layer for each one, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to go 7 layers. I'll move this here, move that, and I'm basically taking the dot. So I click on the dot, and this is number 4. So I move that dot to number 4, move this dot to number 5, select that, move that dot to number 6, and select this, move that dot to number 7. So each one of these can become basically a templated document. So this is number 1. If I double click on that layer, it says template. And what happens is it templates the layer. I can call this ice cream. I'm not going to call it ice cream now, but I can. I can call it ice cream template. Huh? How do you crop the image? Select it in the properties panel. You see the properties on the right hand side? See the properties next to layers? Right here? Right on the right hand side? Right? Under properties, you go down to crop image. Okay? And then once you go to crop image, you can take the edges and sides and basically use this to crop that image, push apply, and then you can resize. Okay. Now, so what I'm talking about here is basically double clicking on each layer, selecting template, and maybe I can say ice cream temp. So that lets me know that that's the ice cream template. And so each one, I'll go through, double click on it, and I'll just abbreviate like hammer temp. Make sure you click on template. And what happens is when you do the template, it automatically dims it and locks it. And so now it's in place, you won't move it, and you know, because we named it, you know where it is and you can get back to it if you need to. And then after you set that template up, you have to create a new layer, let's say for ice cream, and then you do your ice cream. And then you do a new layer for hammer, and you do your hammer. You do a new layer for the non-smoking, and then you do that. And so at the end, when you're ready, you're going to take each one of those template layers, hide them, save as PDF, and then it's going to spit out the PDF document with your work and not the template. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Do you need me to review anything about this again? How do you make it into a template? So let's say I just created the crop and I made this bigger, and this is the non-smoking sign. So on this layer here, if I double click on it, I'm gonna say smoking temp. That's my smoking template layer. I click on template, press OK. It dims it 50% and it locks it, and I'm ready to create. And so when I'm going to create, I need to have a new layer, name that layer, and then I'll create on that layer. Okay. So this process is what you're going to be doing for each one of these files. And again, you already know how to use some of the shape tools to start, but I want you to start from the beginning with the pen tool exercises, and I want you to try as much as possible to use the pen tool to create. Because like I said before, this is going to be one of those skills that not a lot of people know, and you're going to be able to create whatever you want once you master the pen tool. This is like one of those tools that once you know this tool, you'll work forever.